There's so much bullshit coming out of Washington that really need to pull back the lens and talk about what seems to be the important stuff. Let's start with Canada. I've spoken before about countries wanting to de-risk and decouple from the United States. It seems Canada has taken the first step to doing that. Mr. Carney has announced the creation of a sovereign wealth fund, starting with about $25 billion. And the fund will probably be funded through oil revenues and resource revenues. Mr. Carney is talking about how the sovereign wealth fund will mitigate some economic shocks that are being caused by Trump's trade war, and that it is the right thing to do to invest in Canada and to provide Canadians with benefits from the resources that are extracted from Canada. Now, Norway and the Middle East and other countries have sovereign wealth funds, and Canada is now creating one. It'll obviously be much smaller right now, but there we have it. That is sort of a clear signal that Canada wants to de-risk from the United States. Moving on, Iran. Iran has made its position abundantly clear. Hassan Ahmadian, who is a professor at Tehran University, has been speaking to Dropsite, and he's often on Al Jazeera as well. And he articulates Iran's positions quite clearly to the outside world. And what he is saying is that Agrachi went to Pakistan to have bilateral meetings to explain clearly to the Pakistanis what Iran's position is and what some of the technical issues are. Because he feels, and Iran feels, that the intermediaries, the mediators, also need to be fully apprised of all the details. And that is what he had gone to do. He had not gone there to negotiate with the US. And despite the pronouncements out of DC, he was not there to negotiate with the US. Moreover, the Iranians are very clear they will not negotiate with Witkoff, who they find incompetent and not able to grasp diplomatic processes nor technical details, and Kushner, who they feel is Israel's man at the table. So they will absolutely not negotiate with those two, and they will not come to the table unless J.D. Vance is at the table. They feel that they notice the differences between J.D. Vance, Witkoff, and Kushner, and they feel that they need somebody like J.D. Vance, or they're not going to negotiate. The other issue is that they're pretty clear, again, that the issue at the front and center is the Strait of Hormuz. They want the blockade lifted, and they have made their proposal very clear to the US. Apparently, Trump and his national security team were reviewing it, so we should know what happens. But it sounds like Oman and Iran have come to some agreement on what they want vis-a-vis the Strait of Hormuz. And to me, it seems that given there was some hint that Saudi Arabia was involved in those talks as well, that one of Iran's conditions is, one, lift the blockade. Number two, only regional actors should be involved in whatever happens with the Strait of Hormuz, no outside actors. So they want the US to be gone from this process. And I think what they're proposing is that Iran, Oman, Saudi Arabia, and possibly Pakistan get involved with patrolling and whatever mechanisms are there for transit through the Strait of Hormuz. I think in there are probably reparations as well. The Iranians think that first of all, there is no discussion as far as the Iranians are concerned on enriched uranium being sent to the United States. That is not even a point of discussion on the table, say the Iranians. They want to park the nuclear issue for now because they think the Strait of Hormuz is really where it is at. And they've been saying that over and over again. Mr. Ahmadian says that the Iranians think time is entirely on their side, and they're calling it the 3 M's: munitions, markets, midterms. They feel they have enough munitions, but Israel and the United States are low on munitions, and they cannot come up to speed in time to counter that. Should they go back to all-out war, the lack of adequate munitions puts America, Israel, and the likes of the UAE at a disadvantage. Markets. They know that the pain point right now is the price of gas and diesel. And if the ships that were in transit with oil have now arrived at their ports, that is it. No further shipments are coming. Therefore, there will be a huge stress on the global oil markets, and the futures are going to go haywire. The price shock will boomerang onto the United States, even though the US is a net exporter of oil and gas. The price shock is going to hit the US pumps, especially as summer vacations are coming. So that's the markets. And not only the oil shock, we're talking about other products such as fertilizer. Those price shocks are reverberating already upon US farmers. Munitions, markets, and midterms. They too can see the polling. They too can see that Trump is at a historical low, especially on the economy and inflation, and 77% of the public think Trump is to blame for the high gas prices. So they know that they can draw this out and cause a lot of pain for Trump and the entire Republican Party. So that is their position. Deal with us on the Strait of Hormuz, lift the blockade. You, as outsiders to the region, have no say in what happens, and the guarantees will be coming from the likes of Saudi Arabia and Oman. That is where they're at. Now, Mr. Agrachi is with Mr. Putin. Mr. Putin has been a net beneficiary of the crisis in the Strait because Russian oil is now earning him 10x more revenue than before, and the US Treasury has lifted sanctions on Russian oil. So there is that. So that is where we stand right now, with the Iranians making it abundantly clear that these are their negotiating points, this is their stand. Oh, and also they are very clear, as they have been from the get-go, that there must be a complete ceasefire demanded of Israel. And Lebanon will remain a part of that. And unless and until there isn't a complete ceasefire, Iran will not back off from its positions. So they've also made that extremely clear. But as we know, Israel has given fresh orders to attack Lebanon and has continued to kill civilians inside of Lebanon. So those are the positions that are being put forward, and now we wait and see what Mr. Trump does. But the fact that Mr. Trump cannot hold a thought for more than 2 minutes, the Iranians find it extraordinarily difficult to deal with him, and they do not think he'll be able to come to an agreement because of the level of chaos and volatility that they see in the United States. They see the US leadership as in utter disarray. That is how they are viewing it. I think we are viewing that as well, actually. It's not just the Iranians who are doing it to poke a finger in the eye. What the Iranians have laid out shows actually enormous clarity and unity. They've been consistent in what they are saying. In the United States, Trump does not know which way is up and makes contradictory statements, sometimes in the exact same statement. So much so that Mr. Merz, Chancellor Merz of Germany, who had jumped all in supporting Trump's actions, said today that the US leadership is being embarrassed by Iran, by the IRGC. The US leadership is being embarrassed and completely overshadowed, and I don't know the words he used, but Mr. Merz has decided that the US is losing this war. Now remember, Germany is the most powerful country in the EU. So what they are seeing now is a disaster, and the fact that the US is in a very weak position.